Hey everybody, it's Friday on the North Shore Drive from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. I'm Brian Batko filling in for Chris Carter in the host chair today. Ray Fittipaldo is going to fill in for me in my usual co-host spot, and we're going to sift through what was a busy Thursday at the Steelers facility, pick some games around the league, and then we'll give our predictions for Steelers Raiders in Las Vegas. As Carter always says, let's get into it.
You are now listening to the North Shore Drive Podcast, a show on all things Pittsburgh sports from the writers of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, hosted by Christopher Carter.
All right, North Shore Drive time with me and Ray, brought to you by Edgar Snyder Associates. If you're injured in a car accident or you get hurt on the job, Edgar Snyder Associates has been helping injury victims for over 40 years recover more than $2 billion on their behalf. If you or one of your loved ones have been seriously injured in an accident, call 1-800-94-EDGAR or visit www.edgarsnyder.com for your free consultation. There's never a fee unless they get money for you. Okay, Ray. Well, when Carter's here, he's usually pretty organized, pretty buttoned up. Some might even say coherent. You and I, we're just going to wing it on this Friday like we used to do on the old Pot of Steel shows. How's it going, man?
It's good, Brian. Looking forward to getting to Vegas. My son just had a baseball game Thursday night. It was about, 40, 45 degrees. So hopefully it's nice and toasty in Vegas.
Last I checked, it's gonna be like, I think, in the 90s while we're there, or at least high 80s.
I will take it.
Does your son want you to get In-N-Out Burger again too while you're there?
Well, we were just in San Francisco for a vacation in July. We were out there for 7 days, and we had In-N-Out 3 times. So he might not need it just now. He might be asking in a couple of months, but I think he's good for now.
That's good. Yeah, he's satiated for a little bit, I suppose. But okay, Ray, I feel like we spent a week at the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex Thursday. We had a lot going on, from a morning rendezvous with George Pickens, some might say much anticipated rendezvous, given how long he was, let's just go with, procrastinating the media obligations since Sunday night. Then a coordinator meeting of the minds with Arthur Smith and Terrell Austin, as we do every Thursday. And then the dual quarterback post-practice interviews with Justin Fields, followed by Russell Wilson at the podium in the locker room. I'll just kind of leave it open-ended. I mean, a lot going on with this team right now during a 2-game skid, but still one game above 500. Yeah. What stood out the most to you from all of that and more?
Yeah, I mean, just big picture for the entire week, Brian. I think, they're 3-2. They're tied atop the AFC North, but it feels like they need a win really bad this week. I think a win can kind of like just settle this whole drama down with George Pickens. Get George 8 catches for 100 yards, maybe a touchdown or 2. I think a lot of this stuff might go away. And I think it's really important when you're playing teams like the Raiders that you should beat. Let's face it, they probably should have beaten the Colts and the Cowboys too. When you have these opportunities facing wounded teams, and I get it, the Steelers are wounded too, but when you're playing teams like this, you got to take advantage. And we talked about it all summer. You better do well in the first half of the season, because those division games and some tougher teams linger on the second half. So in my mind, I think they got to get to 6-2 to finish out the first half, and I think the Raiders are the first step in doing that.
Well, who's going to be under center doing it, I guess, is the question that persists. I mean, I'd be pretty surprised if it's anybody other than Justin Fields. But, as we sit here at Thursday night, we're recording this, who knows if there will be any wheels turning behind the scenes from the Russell Wilson camp, or if anything sort of leaks out on Mike Tomlin's thinking. But sure seems like Russell Wilson is, another week away from getting an opportunity as a starter, but probably more to the point and more relevant for, setting the stage for this game Sunday in Vegas is, once again, this feels like it could be Justin Fields' last chance to either, slam the door on Russ for another week, or, at least try to cling to the job, even if it's an inevitability that he's not going to be the starting quarterback eventually here.
Yeah, I mean, Brian, if they had 3 points at halftime again this week, and it kind of looked like it did last week, where, what was Justin, 4 for 9 for 35 yards in the first half.
Yeah, it was pretty ugly.
I don't know that Mike would hesitate to go to Russ in that situation. But I think Justin, just take that Cowboys game away. I think, he's really done a lot to help this football team, in the first month or so of the season. So there's probably a lot of internal pressure I think he's putting on himself. I think he himself probably realizes that this is a big opportunity for him, and I'm interested to see how he does there. Russell is he's been cleared for a couple of weeks now. He's been a full participant in practice all week, and I think we are at that point where it's going to happen soon. So I think there's a lot of pressure on Justin, but sometimes pressure brings out the best in players, and we'll see if that happens Sunday afternoon in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say now that the calf injury seems to be of less concern, Russell Wilson's kind of breathing down his neck a little bit. We heard from him after practice Thursday. What did you make of what Russ had to say? I know you wrote about that. It's up at post-gazette.com if people want to check it out. Did you think, Ray, did you get the vibe that he was sort of walking on eggshells, or was he sort of, subtly pushing to say, yeah, I'm ready, and if they don't put me in there, it's because they want to make a choice based on Justin Fields' merit more than my health, because the health is no longer a concern.
Yeah, I mean, I asked him the question, what do you think your role is going to be? And he basically answered, it's a good question. So I don't even know if they have truly had those discussions yet. I think those.
Yeah, he might be in the dark too as we sit here.
Those will probably be had, maybe Friday after practice, but maybe more likely at the team hotel on Saturday, after they meet and stuff like that. So I think it's probably teed up for Justin to have one more week as the starter. I think it's natural this week for Russ to be the number 2. And then, we'll go from there. We'll see how that first half unfolds, against the Raiders on Sunday. It's almost unfortunate, for Justin that it has turned out that way, because I really thought he did some nice things when they got off to that 3-0 start, but you are starting to see some of the issues that crept up in Chicago, creep up now, the fumbles. Luckily the Steelers have jumped on a bunch of those. You saw him put the ball in danger a little bit more last week, maybe with some misreads down the field. I'm thinking the one to Van Jefferson that probably should have been picked. There are, some more turnover-worthy plays, if you will, that he's had in the last couple of weeks. So we'll see if he can get that turned around on Sunday. If he does, he might start again next week against the Jets. But, like we said, I think Russ is getting close to maybe overtaking this thing.
Yeah, ironically, though, last time we saw Justin Fields, he was leading an under 5-minute touchdown drive, technically, with the shovel pass to Pat Freiermuth, to what I thought at the time sealed that game against the Cowboys, and yet Steelers defense couldn't hold up their end of the bargain. So that was a decent way for him to end that game. I wish I could be inside Mike Tomlin's head and know what he was thinking going into this weekend with all the moving parts right now at quarterback. And we'll have to touch on that again here in the third segment when we give our Steelers-Raiders pick. But first, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. And in our second segment, as we always do, we will do our pick 6 on this show, which is brought to you by Edgar Snyder Associates. If you're injured in an accident, you're probably wondering what's next. Well, for more than 40 years, Edgar Snyder Associates has helped injury victims answer that very question. Whether it's gathering evidence, collecting medical records, dealing with those insurance companies, Edgar Snyder Associates has helped over 75,000 people handle what's next. Call 1-800-94-EDGAR or visit www.edgarsnyder.com for a free consultation. And remember, there's never a fee unless they get money for you. We will be right back with our weekly Picks 6 segment. Stay with us, folks. Back into it on the North Shore Drive. Ray, you're not usually privy to putting your picks out there for all the world to see, but Carter and I each week get into some games around the league on this Friday show in this segment, and we usually have a healthy dose of AFC North chatter as we do so. Are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do it.
All right. Well, a lot of people are calling this the game of the week, and I don't necessarily disagree because of the excitement at quarterback with these two teams and kind of in the same part of the NFL world, and they're not far from each other, and both look like they're contenders in their respective conferences. Washington Commanders at Baltimore Ravens. Jaden Daniels versus Lamar Jackson. Ray, how do you see this one playing out? Give me your pick, and we don't do it against the spread, just straight up winners and losers during this one.
Yeah, I mean, given the proximity of these two teams, you feel like it maybe should be more of a rivalry. Like I kind of get like a Steelers-Eagles feel to it because they play so infrequently. But I'm really looking forward to this game. Unfortunately for the Commanders, I think the Ravens have hit their stride. Derrick Henry is playing really well. Lamar Jackson also playing really well. So I'm going to go Ravens 31 and the Commanders 26.
Oh, we don't usually give scores. Way to go the extra mile there, Ray. I like it. I think this is this to me is a really exciting game. And honestly, it's not really a great slate of games this week. It's a Sunday that I don't mind. We'll be in the press box at Allegiant Stadium for a large swath of the early games. And these afternoon games, obviously we'll be watching Steelers Raiders in person, but yeah, this one should be fun. Jaden Daniels has been lighting it up. Lamar Jackson, it's kind of crazy. When you look at the Ravens, it seems like the skill position guys aren't really jumping out. Mark Andrews has sort of vanished. The backup tight ends are making plays, and yet Lamar is on pace for an absurd statistical season, even with Derrick Henry behind him. So I agree with you. I think they absolutely have their mojo back down in Baltimore. Maybe Dan Quinn and company, stop them a few times here and there, but yeah, I've got to go with the Ravens win. Jaden Daniels, they're 4-1. Eventually a rookie's going to run into some hard times. I thought it might be last week in Cleveland. Boy, was I wrong about that one. But I'm going to pick against the Commanders again with this one. So, all right, stay in the AFC North for our second game. Cleveland Browns, as I just mentioned, down really bad at the Philadelphia Eagles. This might be the biggest spread of the week. I think the Eagles were favored by 9 last I checked. I assume you're not taking the upset here, Red?
I'm not. But I do keep waiting for the Bengals or the Browns to kind of snap out of it. But I'm getting the sense, at least with the Browns, that might not happen. Their quarterback situation is really bad, and Deshaun Watson's not playing well. And their defense is, everyone thought that was going to be a strength, and it's been okay, but it really hasn't, put them in position to shut down team and win games on its own. So yeah, I'm going to go Philly 27. I think the Browns will make it close, maybe Browns 21.
Yeah, I'm not picking the upset in this one either. I'm pretty much done believing in the Browns. Maybe they'll get right at some point, but it just seems too dysfunctional right now with everything going on with Sean Watson and just the bad buzz you hear about them seemingly every week. So, both teams banged up. Who isn't banged up at this point? But I'll go with Philly to hold serve at home. Chargers at Broncos, our third game. Two teams the Steelers have already played and beaten. Two teams who are trying to, sort of be surprising contenders here in the AFC West, along with the Chiefs. Who you got, Ray?
Yeah, the Broncos have actually played really well, Brian, since the Steelers went out there and beat them on their home field.
That win in Denver that we all kind of poo-pooed a little at the time is aging pretty nicely.
Yeah, their defense is really good, I think, and Bo Nix is getting better. I don't think he's going to be a great quarterback in this league, but he's doing some good things out there. But when I look at this game, if Justin Herbert's ankle is okay, and I think, it probably is with a couple weeks after that happened, I
They had a
think we're,
bye, right? They're coming off a bye, so that
yeah,
always
we're 2 or
helps.
3 weeks out from that injury. He's the better quarterback, so I'm going to pick the Chargers, and I'll say it's probably going to be low scoring because the Chargers play those types of games. I'll say 20-17.
I could see this one going either way. Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, pretty interesting coaching matchup. First time between these two since Harbaugh got back into the league, and they might be doing it against each other for a while out there as division rivals. But even with some of the the good vibes right now around the Broncos, it seems like their defense was way better than any of us really gave it credit for in that Week 2 game, particularly the secondary, but also some of those no-name guys up front are causing teams problems. I think this one could be low scoring, but I hate to agree with you on the first three, but I'm going to go with the Chargers as well to win this on the road. I think they've just got a little bit more firepower overall, but I don't want to undersell Pat Surtain and what everybody's doing on the Broncos defense, but I think Herbert too is the deciding factor in this one, much like I thought he would be Week 3 against the Steelers, although he couldn't finish that game healthy. So, all right, our fourth game, I picked this one for us to predict just because one of these teams came into Acrisure Stadium, walked in the trap, took over the trap Sunday night after midnight. Detroit Lions at Dallas Cowboys. Do the Cowboys keep it rolling, Ray?
Yeah, there's something about that team that I don't think they're going to be like a real factor. I think they could make the playoffs in the NFC, but it seems like Dak is really getting it together now. He played really well in the second half of that game. I think Detroit is a team that could maybe be a factor deep into the NFC playoffs, but I don't know what the point spread is in this game, Brian, but I'm going to go Cowboys in what I think is an upset, and I'll say 24-21.
It would be. They're getting 3 points last I checked. The Lions, obviously a lot of people's trendy pick to make the Super Bowl. Not only that, but they're coming off an early bye week, and they've been playing some pretty good football to this point. What was it? Last time out, Jared Goff was perfect. Didn't throw an incompletion, yeah. I believe. John Gruden is on TikTok screaming about him going 18 for 18. I don't know if you saw that clip, but definitely had me laughing at Gruden. Maybe I'm just Gruden brained, but I'm going to go with the Lions too. I'll take the favorites, even on the road in Dallas. I still think, as well as Dak is playing, and guys like Jalen Tolbert, Jake Ferguson were stepping up on the North Shore the other night. Assuming they don't have Micah Parsons, or if he's out there, he's going to be much less than 100%. I don't think they can stop this Lions offense enough with all those injuries on the defensive side of the ball for the Cowboys. All right, our fifth game, Sunday Night Football. This is the Sunday Night Football game this week. Cincinnati Bengals at New York Giants. I might have to go and enjoy some of the nightlife in Vegas after Steelers Raiders rather than park myself in a seat for this one. Who's going to win?
Yeah, listen, this has to be the spot where the Bengals finally get another win. That Ravens game, they probably, threw that one away. They probably should have won that game. So, the Giants are playing a little bit better, I think, right now, but I'm going to go Bengals. And I think it's going to be rather big. I'll go 30-14.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Ray. I'm not about to pick the Giants to go on a winning streak, although I will give them credit for going in to Seattle last week and beating the Seahawks on the road, a Seahawks team who, as we record this, is hanging tough with the 49ers. But yeah, I think the Bengals, if they go to 1-5 after losing to the Giants, you can pretty much write them off, I think, in 2024. So I'm not ready to write off Joe Burrow and company. I'll say they get this done on the road Sunday night, but yeah, not a game that has a lot of juice for me. All right, one that does. Monday Night Football. Buffalo Bills at New York Jets. Ray, are you taking the Bills to snap out of it, or do you think the Jets get that interim coach bump from moving on from Robert Saleh this early into the season?
Yeah, it seems like everything is in chaos up there, but sometimes teams and quarterbacks play well in chaos, and sometimes they just need, something like that to maybe get them going. I still think Buffalo is going to be, probably a top 4 seed in the AFC. I think they're going to win that AFC East. But I have the Jets pulling the upset here. I got the Jets winning this one. I think Aaron Rodgers will bounce back. off that bad game. And I'll say Jets win a low-scoring game, probably something like 23-20.
I thought I was going to be the different one here, but I'm actually going to agree with you that I think the Jets do get that sort of, new coach, a little bit of extra energy, everybody kind of counting them out. Jeff Ulbrich taking over. As always, when an interim coach gets the job, you're hearing from the media that everybody believes in this guy. They all love him in that building. Like, okay, that's cool. But I also think it is going to come down. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, though, Ray. And I think Aaron Rodgers, if he can ever sort of drum up a little bit of pizzazz to show people he's still got it, this would be the night. Outduel Josh Allen, and I think he will find a way to do that against all odds on Monday Night Football, even as their offense is in flux as well, just as much as the overall coaching situation there. So the only game we disagree on, Lions at Cowboys, and a lot of those games could go either way. All right, we are going to move along to our Steelers-Raiders prediction, the game that we all care about the most. Quick message from Savinas, Kane, and Gallucci. Mesothelioma and asbestos lawyers with over 85 years of experience. Call 412-227-6556 for your free consultation. And let's also hear from our friends at Moon Township Honda, located at 5802 University Boulevard in Moon Township, PA, and online at moonhonda.com.
To build the Honda CR-V Hybrid, we took everything you love about the CR-V and kicked it up a notch with greater power for a CR-V unlike any before. Adventure confidently with Honda, Car and Driver's most awarded brand in 10 Best history. The CR-V and CR-V Hybrid, part of the Honda line of rugged vehicles. Visit your local Honda dealer where new vehicles are arriving daily. Buy online or reserve from select Honda dealers.
All right, Brian Batko and Ray Fittipaldo coming down the home stretch with you on the North Shore Drive podcast. Once again, if you're missing the dulcet tones of Chris Carter, he's out for this week. He will be back soon. Ray, this might just be the big headline that our multimedia editor, Adam Bittner, puts on this video and podcast. The Steelers can't possibly lose this game to the Raiders, right? They can't possibly go to Vegas against a team missing their best offensive player in Devontae Adams. Constant speculation about when he's going to be traded, more so than will he be traded, although they seemed like they were trying to run damage control Wednesday. Head coach Antonio Pierce saying we had good conversation. I feel like you can translate that to, hold on, guys, we're losing leverage in the trade talks. We better make it seem like there's a chance he stays. Making a quarterback switch from Gardner Minshew to Aiden O'Connell, who I was actually surprised when I looked. His numbers last year were not bad, and they went 5-5 with him down the stretch. And I never thought it made sense that they threw 3 years, $24 million at Gardner Minshew in free agency. So they're already sort of steering the ship in a different direction on that front. And yeah, just a team that I think we already knew was kind of in rebuilding mode and is missing some other key players on offense and defense, including their biggest ticket free agent signing, Christian Wilkins. Do you feel like the Steelers go and get the job done, or is this stretch going to remind us a little bit of last season when they dropped 3 in a row to the Colts, Cardinals, and Patriots?
Yeah, I mean, this is a game they can't lose. I mean, this would be another bad loss for Tom. And I think that Colts game, you get off to the bad start, you come back and you make it look good. But again, that's a game you should win. Then you lose at home to the Cowboys. You cannot squander these opportunities. And I think with you hit it right on the head with Adams out. You remember last year he gave them problems early in that game. I know
Levi Wallace is still seeing Devontae Adams in his nightmares, I think.
Yeah.
Patrick Peterson as well, for that matter.
Yeah, so I mean he's not going to be there. O'Connell was capable, and he's got Brock Bowers. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the Steelers are going to shut them out, but this is a game that the defense has to step up. They got to get better on third down, and like Cam Hayward said on Thursday, Brian, they just have to be more consistent. You can't. And I understand there's injuries, but you can't be as up and down as they have been in games and expect to win these football games. So The Steelers' formula is not going to change. They're going to ask their offense to make a few plays, maybe get the 20 points, try to pull it out. But yes, this is definitely a game that the Steelers cannot lose. And I don't think, like we talked about at the top, I don't think they can afford to lose it. This is a very big game in their season, even though a lot of people didn't think that, when the season started.
Yeah, I mean, when the schedule came out, Ray, I remember thinking like, all right, with the Steelers, what we know about them, what I feel about them, pretty much a whole list of coin flips. I would have told you there's probably little chance of them beating the Chiefs even at home on Christmas, and didn't feel great about the way they stacked up against the Eagles. But on the flip side, I would have said, hey, if there's any game that I think is about as close to a layup as you can get for this team in the NFL, I think I would have circled that Week 6 Raiders matchup, regardless of who was going to be their quarterback at that time, because again, they just seemed like a team that came into this season spinning their wheels. And yeah, I mean, at this time last year, after Week 5, the Steelers were entering their off week, and I remember thinking at the time, because they were, I guess they were 3-2 as well at that point. But I remember thinking at the time, okay, this schedule is breaking pretty nicely for them. They're going to face Mac Jones. They ended up actually getting Bailey Zappi instead of Mac Jones. At that time, it didn't look like Kyler Murray was going to be back yet for the Cardinals. They had the Anthony Richardson, Gardner Minshew Colts situation that seemed like an easy W later in the season. And we know how those 3 games ended up playing out for them. And still they rebounded from that later on in the season. But you don't want to continue to be in that just murky middle of NFL mediocrity. So winning this game would just keep you on the track of, hey, now we're 4-2. Now we can absorb some of those 50-50 games that go one way or the other. And I look at this Raiders team, they should be a good matchup for the Steelers, even beyond the obvious just lack of talent and lack of experience at a lot of key spots. Their right tackle, Delmar Glaze, I think his name is. I don't know how much schematic help he's going to need to keep TJ Watt away from the quarterback, probably a lot. Their left tackle, Colton Miller's pretty good, but I think the Steelers already knew with the likes of Jeremiah Moon and Ade Ogundeji, assuming he's elevated from the practice squad, they probably weren't winning many one-on-ones against NFL left tackles anyway. So, they got to block Max Crosby on the offensive side of the ball. That's a guy who could absolutely wreck the game, punch a ball out, flip the field for O'Connell and give him a short field. I think if they do that, I think if TJ Watt is his usual self, and I think if they just make sure the Raiders aren't going up and down the field on them with the run game like the Colts did early in that one, there's no reason why this shouldn't be a win, and maybe even a fairly decisive win, and what I imagine will be a Steelers partisan crowd, or at least pretty darn close to having half the stadium there in black and yellow.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Arthur Smith is usually really cognizant of who the best players are in any given week, and
Jesse Bates week 1,
don't let the guy wreck the game. Just don't let Max Crosby wreck this game, and I think the Steelers will be okay.
All right, you got a score prediction for me, Ray?
Yeah, I mean, Brian, I think this is a game the Steelers should win going away. I think they will win it going away. I'm going to go Steelers 27, Raiders 17. I think it'll be a good game for Justin Fields, and we might have a little bit of a quarterback controversy when we get back on Monday.
I'm pretty much in the same frame of mind as you, Ray. I'm actually surprised that it's only Raiders +3 in this game from the odds makers. But yeah, I'm going to do what I rarely do on this show or anywhere else. I didn't do it the last couple of weeks. I still thought the Steelers would pull it out against the Colts and the Cowboys, so I was wrong. But I predicted those games to be close and even closer than the betting line. But I'm going to go Steelers 26, Raiders 13 in this one. And I think Justin Fields is pretty good, pretty efficient. Najee Harris finds some more running lanes with no Christian Wilkins in there for the Raiders. Robert Spillane might make a play here or there against his old team if he's all motivated. and jazzed up for this one. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be a nail biter. I think it's going to be one of the more comfortable Steelers road wins in a while. So I probably just jinxed them on that front, Ray.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Aiden O'Connell, streaky quarterback. I mean, you mentioned he was 5-5 last year, but he did put up some good numbers. He could surprise some people, but this is a game the Steelers have to win. Maybe it's a good thing they're not going back to Oakland Alameda Stadium. They've had some. It's been a house of horrors for them. So we'll see if the change in venue was is good luck like it was last year when they got that win out there.
Yes, they did ultimately get the job done, even though they surrendered a ton of yards to Devontae Adams and defense struggled at times. But I think they'll get it done again, as does Ray. For Ray Fittipaldo, I'm Brian Batko. Thanks as always for checking us out here on the North Shore Drive podcast from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. We'll have plenty more coverage from the South Side today. I'll be there on Friday at UPMC Rooney Sports Complex with the final injury news and notes. And then Ray, Jerry, myself will all be out there in Las Vegas on Sunday, 4:25 p.m. kickoff here in Pittsburgh. We will see you all then, and we'll talk to you next week on the North Shore Drive.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the North Shore Drive podcast from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all the sports coverage from the Post-Gazette that we have to offer, visit post-gazette.com.